Asteroid of fear.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Men of the House podcast. And on today's episode, we have me, yours truly. This is going to be one of those solo ones. It's going to be a little kind of life update, let the listeners connect to me and understand what's going on in my life, the podcast, and just things in general. But to start off, hopefully the sound and picture are better. That's something I'm actively working on, and it should be getting even better. If you're watching, you're going to see a logo in the background, and it might possibly be a merch logo down the road. It might possibly represent me, and I'll go into a backstory in a minute. But just a little taste, you can see the sugar skull if you're watching where I'm pointing. Um, I'm in love with that as I am Mexican, Chicano, and do celebrate Dia de los Muertos. So, or Dia de los Muertos. Anywho, enough about that. This background is also loaded because it is way better than the background you would currently see if I didn't have this logo. Why is that? Come on, Rich. Tell me, enlighten me. Okay, since you twisted my arm, I'll go ahead and enlighten you. So outside of podcasting, everyone knows I worked in healthcare for 12 years and got laid off during the pandemic. Well, one of kind of my part-time jobs, other than Uber Eats, is caring for veterans kind of through home health, in which the VA pays for. Now I do it part-time. I got into this through my wife, who actually does it for my father. And, it's stuff we would do anyway, whether it's taking them to appointments, cleaning their house, helping them cook, whatever the case may be. So, one of the veterans she actually takes care of is, we'll just call him Buck. That's not his full name. But Buck is a 97-year-old Navy veteran. Let that sink in. Born in 1927. He and I kind of we share our naval experience. I was on CV-62, the USS Independence. He was on CV-63, the Kitty Hawk. The Kitty Hawk is what replaced the Independence in Japan. Um, but I had already left Japan by then, so I did not serve on the Kitty Hawk, but he did. He also built ships. He went to Annapolis. He was a naval architect. He built, I think, a DLG, which is a destroyer that's no longer around. Now they're like DDGs, I think, which is like destroyer guided, like for missiles and whatnot. But yeah, and then he taught at Texas A&M, project management, because as a naval architect and having built a ship from the ground up, he is very aware of project management. So he retired from that, and yeah, he's been in rehab after a little fall for a couple of months now, but we've been visiting him, and his daughter comes down and visits because she normally kind of meal preps for him. But, we'd corresponded with her. We've talked to her. She's met myself, my wife, of course. She met my mom because while we were out of town when Mr. Buck fell, um, my mom came over here to check his mail, make sure everything was okay, and ended up meeting his daughter. So, it's a little bit of a family affair, I guess, if you will. But, the daughter is approved it. And I am going to be Mr. Buck's live-in caregiver for the unforeseeable future. hopefully help get him better, get him rehabbed up. He's not really getting better in rehab because, some of what he does, he had a fall like a long time ago and busted his kneecap. And he had to elevate his leg. And during that elevation, he lost a lot of muscle. It atrophied quite a bit. And so that became an issue. And he has a special machine he uses, but it needs like stationary seating in order to use it. And the rehab facility, everything in there rolls. I don't know why. You didn't hear this from me, but more than likely they don't want you to get well. They want to keep you, move you to their one of their long-term facilities. That's the way corporate medicine works. We have another friend in a hospital who lives in my dad's 55 and older community. He's on dialysis, and kind of the same thing is they do almost as little as possible because they got a nice little, live in where he can get dialysis and be on long-term care. And, they can collect the $2,100 a month of his check to take care of him and, mix up their laundry, even though it's labeled, bring them shitty cold food. Um, uh, you know, uh, Maybe there's good stories out there. These aren't. I don't know why, but with my dad's knee surgery and ending up intubated in the ICU, I feel like in the past 4 years that I've stepped away, that um, whether it's healthcare or the people in it have just mm, maybe gotten lesser. Maybe they're overworked. It's a good possibility. I mean, the clinic I go to, which is the one I used to manage, the people there are still on point. But you still see different faces. So that means that the people who aren't in it for the right reasons, um, they're being weeded out or transferring or moving. But a lot of the people at the clinic I used to manage are still there. They're great people, great doctors, great nurses, great front desk. I love them all. They're very good to me and my family. You know, they still miss me, which I think says a lot about who I was as a leader. But, there are some people, it's like, hey, nursing is, it's a good paying job. It'll always be in demand, kind of like teaching, although teaching's not as good paying. But people get this idea of what it is, and they think of the certainty and the stability factor, and they kind of negate the fact that you really got to be passionate about people because, wiping people's butts, emptying catheters, all these things, they're not fun, um, but they're part of life. You know, for the listeners who have children, we did it for our children when they were babies and couldn't do it for themselves. And then, like Mr. Buck, who's 97, should we be, so blessed to live that long, then we're probably going to need some help too. Um, to what extent? I don't know. But that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm going to be doing. So I have moved my entire podcast setup to Mr. Buck's house, and I'll be podcasting from here. So, a few notes on that. Mr. Buck still does have a landline. So you may hear it ringing in the background. There's not much I can do about that. If he wanted a cell phone, he would have one, but he's old school. He has a landline. People do call and try to scam and take advantage. And hopefully, when he gets back, I'm going to ask him all the numbers in there who've been calling in, block the irrelevant numbers because, that is a thing. In case you don't know, his phone does ring off the hook. And it's usually people trying to sell him something or take advantage of an older person, which, you know, I it doesn't sit right with me, and I'm not down for it. So if you hear a phone ring in the background, you know that's it's part of real life. Um, This isn't the Joe Rogan studio. Not throwing shade at that. I love Joe Rogan or Sean Ryan. Um, but at this moment in time, the God and universe has assigned me here, and this is what I'll be doing, and this is where I'll be doing it. And I fully intend to keep the podcast going. You know, worst case scenario, I cut down to once a week, but I'm not I don't like to lower the ceiling. I prefer to raise the floor, if that makes sense. You know, I have a standard, I have a goal. I'm not going to lower it just because life throws, whether it's challenges or opportunities. I see this as an opportunity. This is awesome. I actually hope to get to interview Buck and ask him about his life and all the history he's seen and been through. Maybe a long conversation of part one, two, and three. I don't know yet. First thing is get him home, and that will be tomorrow or by the time this drops, actually. So I'm recording this Friday evening, as I've just kind of finished setting everything up. You could hear walkie-talkie because I bought us some walkie-talkies so he can communicate to me without having to get up and get his phone. He can clip the walkie-talkie on. He didn't have to worry about calling me. So I brought my treadmill, some weights, some jump rope and stuff I can do out in his garage. And so if he needs me, I'm just one squelch or walkie-talkie away. So, you know, I would just say be graceful, be kind, try to be understanding. That's the kind of person I try to be. These things happen, but the content's not going to change. My message, my mission, what I stand for, what I'm about, what this podcast is about, um, that's going to stay true. So those are the expectations. Now, as for the backdrop and what's going to be going on, I kind of got my podcast on rhythm and am able to manage that this last quarter of 2024 before we hit 2025. I'm working on branding, packaging, you know, some technical stuff, learning to do better thumbnails. And if you're out there trying to sell me your services, no thanks. I get that stuff all the time. If it's organic and everything fits right, then I would consider it. But monetarily, just not at that point yet. And I want to know how to do it because, hey, just like managing clinics, what happens when the person doesn't get it to you? I maintain my schedule regardless of anyone else outside around me. So I need to know how to do it. It's just like checking in patients. Front desk calls in. I'm not as good at checking in, so I would usually check out, reschedule appointments, answer phone calls, do, nursing notes, stuff like that, chart, send messages, answer the phones if our phone nurse was out. So kind of do whatever it takes. But yeah, the branding, that's what I'm going to be working on. And speaking of that, so if you haven't heard kind of the origin story of the Men of the House podcast, where it was thought up, um, it comes from the Waffle House, one of my favorite places. If you know me, that's my jam. I will go there with my wife's ex-husband. We'll go as a family sometimes, but they're not as keen on it as I am. I will go with a good friend. I look forward to going with Alex one day. Uh, but it's kind of we go on vacation. It's my peace and quiet. It's my little meditation. And, you sit at the counter or at the low bar. There's a gentleman to the right of me, gentleman to the left of me. I'm like, hey, what's their story? Like, what are they doing here? I know what I'm doing here. Do their wife and kids not want to come? Are they widowed? Are they a truck driver just stopping for a meal? Um, are they there having some a chocolate chip waffle and some eggs and hash browns after a show, maybe like Alex. Yeah. So it's about exploring what's the story. And but in branding, that's kind of the origin story. What you see kind of behind me in the background is a moth, which actually fits nicely because doesn't that like MOTH, men of the house, kind of go together? Yeah. So my boy Andrew, we've been friends. I would probably say he's my best friend, 100%. We've been friends since first grade. We sat next to each other in math class, and um, I'm 48. We're both 48, so 42 years of friendship. Yeah, ups and downs. Sometimes we didn't talk, but we always kind of came back together. You know, that's what friends do. It's what couples do. It's what relationships are. Is we're there for each other as best we can be, and we, you know, sometimes it's not all good, but nonetheless, we forgive, we make amends, and appreciate each other. And, interestingly enough, he and I have both been kind of on a mental health and weight loss journey in terms of um, getting ourselves better through exercise, through um, different things. So he's a Canva guy. I'm not. He's a design guy, does some photography and stuff. I do not. I'm more of a, you know, um, words and concepts, and um, I have some, I have some smarts. Um, I completed biostatistics, which is pretty hard. I'm not engineering smart, like I'm not doing what do they call that? Like differential equations or anything like that. Um, some of the hard stuff. But I did get like a high B in biostatistics. So yeah, it was a rough class. Um, Shout out to our math wizards. We need you because I'm not it. But yeah, so in part of that moth is that the past 2 years, when I was in the worst place of my life, feeling like I was on the brink of losing my wife, my daughter, um, in a horrible spot personally. And it still took me a good 9, 10 months till I decided, hey, this shit's got to stop and it's got to change. And the first thing I stopped doing was drinking. Then I started walking and I started exercising, started getting off medications. Um, I used some psychedelics and macro followed by micro doses. I used some cannabis um, as a tool and actually have been off of edibles for 15 days. They were no longer serving me, and I feel like I'm in the best place I've been in a long time, mentally, spiritually, um, with my self-worth, you know, understanding what gifts I have, and that my past is it's that I made a lot of mistakes, and but I'm not a bad person. I'm not a bad guy. Um, so trying to show myself some grace and do all that. And, so you have the origin story and then you have this logo. There's a couple others that I really like that he's designed. One that looks more of the female type. So it might be a male logo and a female logo. But the moth represents transformation, represents many things: life, death, um, and everything in between. And that's why this moth with the sugar skull, because he'd done a couple renditions, and I was like, I gotta have the one with the skull. And it's a real type of moth. I don't know it off the top of my head, but unless maybe I scroll through some of the some of our conversations over here about it. But that's kind of what I'm thinking about, what's going down, the updates, the deets, if you will. Let me throw my glasses back on. But yeah, like I said, this is a personal episode for many different reasons. Timing, and I want to let you guys into my world and what I'm doing. And so you know a bit about me, where I come from, what I'm about. All right, here we go. Moth symbolism, transformation, change and metamorphosis, personal growth and evolution. Man, if I just go back to January till now, the past 10 months, 100%, I'm not the same person. Attraction to light, symbolizing the search for truth, knowledge, and spiritual enlightenment. Intuition and psychic abilities, they're associated with heightened senses of intuition, representing a connection to the unseen world. Femininity and the moon. Um, Moths are often linked to the moon and feminine energy, symbolizing cycles, intuition, and emotional depth. Well, I can tell you, I managed probably about 26 females. So, and I was very close to my mom, raised by women, my grandmother, the babysitters. Uh, so I would definitely say I have a insight to that feminine energy, or maybe even possess it. Uh, Skull symbolism, the inevitability of death, serving as a reminder to live life fully, which I think I'm taking in more now. Transformation and rebirth. In some cultures, skulls symbolize the transition of one phase of life to another, echoing the moth's metamorphosis. Inner strength and fearlessness. The skull can represent overcoming fear and facing challenges with courage. Combined meaning. The combination of the moth and the skull in this image is likely to represent the transformative power of facing one's fears and embracing change. It could signify a journey of personal growth and spiritual evolution, even in the face of mortality. The sun or moon in the background of my logo emphasizes cyclical nature of life and the importance of finding light, even in the darkness. Now, if you know me personally or if you've listened to my podcast, then that kind of fits me to a T. I would say on point. 100% me. 100% me. So, um, uh, it's called a hawk moth. That's what it's called. Hawkhead moth. Yeah, Google that. Give that the goog. Hawkhead moth. So, yeah, using too many filler words. I got to work on that as well. Let me get a little drink here. But as I've been out throughout the day, getting a fresh haircut, making a few stops, uh, grabbing those walkie-talkies. I just had some great conversations. They've been small, maybe, 12 to 15-minute haircut. Shout out to the lady who cut my hair. She was about it. We had a great conversation. I told her about my podcast, the importance of, what I'm doing. And, you know, we were on the same frequency. And it might have been 12 or 15 minutes, but we were just vibing. It was a great conversation. And then I went to another little place. Somebody that I've met before and in passing, and we had a great conversation. It was about 10 minutes, but where does all this fit in? Well, there's magic all around you if you're open to it and you're vibing right and you're centered and you're aligned and you're going, I always say go out and be the person you want to meet. And those are the people I've met today. And it's been wonderful. It's been fulfilling. It's been these little moments in time that you can remember that just make the day a little bit better. And I hope it made their day better as well. So yeah, you get yourself right, get yourself aligned, figure out what you're about, what you stand for, stay true to it. If you made mistakes, forgive yourself, move on. The shitty feeling you get from making a mistake, that's punishment enough. Don't give yourself a life sentence for making a mistake. It's horrible. And I did that for 30 years. So take my advice. Don't stay stuck. Um, yeah, do not. But also going to plug, I have a private accountability group. At one time, it was going to be a paid service, but it's going to be free. Um, I am, I believe I'm evolving into probably a men's coach of some sort to help men like myself who made mistakes like I did, who give themselves a life sentence, who get laid off, who get stuck emotionally, help them figure out their hangups. And at some point, that's probably what I'll be doing. Unless somebody hires me to do something else. You never know. Um, there's opportunities all around, but the accountability is going to be free. And it's not just about accountability. I'm part of another accountability group that is fitness related. My accountability is, it's not just about accountability, it's about connection. Some of the people I connect with and know personally, like Alex, he's in there. It's words of encouragement. It's when times are tough, some accountability group members who live in Florida and just had to go through the devastation of that, you know, checking in with them, making sure they're okay. Is there a way I could help? Maybe. I don't know. You never know. I'm willing to. I'm willing to give what I have. May not be a lot. Could be a phone call with somebody else who could help. Maybe that's what I can offer. Maybe it's a podcast and somebody, a connection you make who, whether it's financial means, service means, um, maybe just delivering water. Who knows? Um, Perhaps just listening. Sometimes people just need to be heard and understood when they're afraid. And there was a lot of reason for people to be afraid. And, it's devastating and I hate it. That's how much I hate it, that I feel it in the pit of my stomach just talking about it. But if you know me, especially if you were listening to this when I was a leader, I am a silver linings guy. Um, what good can come from this? Well, everybody knows it's election season and the world's kind of a shit show and everybody's divided and they want us to be divided. But, you know, kind of like 9/11, this is that time where people will come together, hopefully, to help the people of Florida to rebuild, to clean up. Um, there's a lot of help to be given, and this is the time for communities to come together. And, that's more important than any of the lip service we're getting from, you know, Democrats or Republicans or whoever, it's certainly a shit show. And, I'm not going to discuss politics on here, but we need a better world. which means we need a better leader. Um, I don't know who that is. I'm not going to tell you my thoughts. If you know me personally, you could probably guess, but you know, um, and I'm glad a woman can run for president because I have three daughters. That means one of them could do it. So, you know, never for a minute think that I'm against that because I'm not. Is Kamala Harris the right woman to start this? I don't know. We'll see what the world thinks. Um, Whatever it is, it'll be interesting. Some people are going to hate it, some people are going to love it, but mm, it doesn't. Hopefully, they can fix the shit that needs to be fixed, but it shouldn't destroy us as people and as a community, our ability to come together, love one another, help each other out, especially in the wake of devastation. So, keep that in mind. It's not about what signs in your front lawn or who you're going to cast your vote for. It's about you're human, I'm human. I want love, you want love. Um, if I need help, you help me. If you need help, I help you. That's that's my world. Those are my rules. That's my political party right there. Um, so enough about that. But this is going to be the situation for the time being, and I hope you guys continue to listen. And I've had some wonderful conversations lately that are going to be coming up to be released. Matt O'Neill, Michael Osterling, and they just came at the right time. I've been having some weeks that are like the best weeks and worst weeks all at the same time, but I'm overcoming them, and I'm overcoming them with shorter windows of how it's impacting me. I'm able to recognize it and pivot much faster. And, just like the conversations today, you are what you put out there into the world and understanding what vibe you're carrying. And if your vibe is off, correct it because you're going to get back what you put out. But yeah, I look forward to you guys hearing those conversations. They were very wonderful, very impactful for me. And, I also want to apologize to any of the guests who I've had to cancel on this past week in preparing for this move and this shift. Um, it took a little bit more work and effort than was anticipated, but, you know, that's okay. I'm behind this 100%. This is what I'm about. This is aligned with who I am and what I'm about. And, I intend to do it to my fullest ability and hopefully get him back as good as he can be for 97 years old and just share some time with him. And like I said, hopefully get to interview him. But last but not least, I want to thank all of you guys who listen and support the show, all you guys who reach out to me and leave comments. And, you know, if you were sorry, if you've listened to everything, I'm sorry to disappoint you that I couldn't give you one of those conversations today. But, if you haven't heard all of them, go back and find one that you like. There's some really good ones out there. Um, the last one I just dropped Wednesday was awesome. Rabbi Alan Ferenczi, great conversation, great dude. Um, yeah, Teresa Rosario Prosecco Queen Hernandez. Yeah, there's been some good ones. Everything has been it's been jiving lately, and I'm digging it. And I just want to keep moving forward, improving, and making it the best, not just for me, for all you guys. So, on that note, remember to go out and be the person that you want to meet. Peace out. Well, that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from. Remember, go out and be the person that you want to meet.
Let's go.
Asteroid of fear.